Hi, and Happy New Year. It's Geoff, and going to take a look back at the 2017 at the real estate market numbers for Peterborough and the surrounding area, as I always do with the price report. Also, going to take a look at the three biggest impacts that government regulation had on our market and how it's going to affect us going forward. And going to give you a chance to get free tickets to the National Home Show coming to Toronto in March. Shall we get to it? Let's go and welcome Geoff White's Peterborough Price Report. So first thing on the agenda here is three big impacts that happened to us thanks to the government of Canada and the province of Ontario over the course of 2017. First, Bank of Canada interest rate hikes. The first time in several years, our historic low interest rates started to rise. First a quarter point in July, then a quarter point in September, and according to all those who seem to know what's going on in that world, another rate hike, we don't know how big, whether quarter point or half point, will happen this week. So keep that in mind as we go forward. As I said, likely to rise again this week. The other big impact, number two, is the Ontario Fair Housing Plan that came into play this year. The first part of that was the expanded rent control. Previous to that, homes built after or buildings after 1992 were not under the rent control. Now all buildings are under rent control, which means that rents can only rise by the prescribed amount that the government issues. And what does that mean? Well, if you're an investor, it means that if you buy an income property that has tenants in place, that means that those tenants can stay at the existing rents for as long as they want, and that the rents can only rise, as I said, at the prescribed level, kind of 1.5. This 2018 is 1.8%. So that can have an impact on your buying decision as an investor. It also says to me and to others that I've read that renters are going to will be less likely to want to move because, of course, if they move, they'll have to pay more rent. So they'll stay where they have a stable rent and they can project it, which also means that vacancy rates are going to go down. So fewer and fewer properties are going to be vacant. So that means if you can buy a property that is vacant, you'll be able to set new market rates. And of course, because the vacancy rate is low, you'll be able to set higher rates for your rentals. And of course, Ontario implemented the 15% foreign buyers tax. Now, while Peterborough does fall into that area, it didn't directly impact us in terms of the number of foreign buyers buying here in Peterborough. But what it did is that it impacted the GTA. And so the greater Toronto area did slow down as a result of this buyer's tax, which means we had fewer people, that the sales in the Toronto market slowed down. It was taking longer for homes to sell. So that took some of the heat off the Peterborough market. And we saw that late June and moving forward in the rest of the year, and the number of multiple offer situations dropped dramatically from the spring period here in Peterborough. And we imagine going forward as things settle down in the Toronto market that we will start to see more pressure on the Peterborough market as we go forward into this year. Mortgage regulations changed yet again. Well, at one point not long ago, the federal government implemented regulations that said that not only if you were putting down 20% or less on your home, you were required to meet a stress test, which was the benchmark rate. Regardless of what the bank was offering you, you still had to be able to afford the benchmark rate. And if you did that, then the bank could issue a mortgage. They've now extended that so that all mortgages, whether you're putting down 20% on a down payment or less than 20%, all mortgages must qualify based on the benchmark 5-year mortgage rate or the mortgage rate that is offered plus 2%, whichever is higher. And how does that impact us going forward? Well, it means that if you're selling your house, anybody that's looking to buy your house now must meet these new rules. Shouldn't be that big a problem, but it could have a slowing effect, and we're going to see going forward how that impacts us. So those are the three big government regulations that have come into play this year and will have some impact going forward on the market here in Peterborough. Let's take a look at what happened in the year that was 2017. This is the 12-month average. All these numbers are based on the 12-month average. You can see here that the average sale price in the city of Peterborough to the end of December was $366,000. That was up 22% over the year before. And that 1,341 homes sold in the city of Peterborough over the course of the year. On average, it took about 19 days to sell a house, and on average, they sold for 104% of their list price. Currently, we have less than 0.5%. No kidding, 0.5% of not 0.5%, but half of 1 month's inventory. We need about 135 homes a month to meet the demand on average here in Peterborough. And right now, that means we have 60 or so homes for sale in the city. That number will start to rise as the spring market comes our way. And the one that everybody forgets about, there are homes that do not sell, and on average, that was about 20% of them. 19% roughly did not sell. I've also got the numbers here for the county, Peterborough County. Here are numbers for income properties in the city and of course, waterfront properties in our Peterborough County area. They're all available. You can find these numbers on my website, geoffwhite.ca. It's all part of Geoff White's Peterborough Price Report. Oh, I mentioned that you have a chance to win tickets to see the National Home Show. You can get those by scrolling down in your email. Scroll down and you will find out what to do and how to get those. If you're watching this video on my website, I'll have a form down a little lower on this page where you can request those tickets as well. Thanks for watching, and don't forget that my name is Geoff White. I sell residential, income, and waterfront property here in the city of Peterborough. Until next time, remember, life is good.